welcome back to another episode of Botania. And I've been expanding a little bit to get the mana pool filled up nicely for our episode today. I've created a whole little system here. A full field of day blooms. A full field of the day bloom. The beautiful yellow flower that takes the sunlight and converts it into mana. Puts it into the mana spreader, and that mana spreader is angled down, straight down, beaming a ton of mana. It's full, it's full, it's full. Constantly full because of the field of flowers around it. So this literally maxes out. These day blooms have nothing in them. Nothing in them at all. They're all empty. But the spreader is virtually constantly full, look. It can't beam out faster. So that must mean, due to having some of these particle effects as well that we might be able to see around the place every now and again, that the mana spreader can't actually receive a full field of energy. I don't know if you've already seen it, should be able to see a little bit of a hint of a day bloom sparkle every now and again. Maybe not. Okay, maybe it's ideal, but I thought I saw a few sparkles from the mana blooms, like they were holding some mana that they couldn't distribute. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is the perfect optimal setup to keep a mana spreader absolutely full, which makes sense. It's a field of day blooms and one mana spreader. Mana spreader getting the maximum possible day bloom power and then beaming it down, because you can move these blocks with this little wand. Oh yes, you can change the direction of these mana spreaders. Something we're going to mess around with a bit today while we're testing lenses out. So you can see this is firing a beam every once in a while. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Yeah, like the sound effects? Vroom. Whereas this one is more or less a constant flow, a constant energy being pumped down into this guy. And this mana spreader is keeping a fairly constant fill. Yeah, fairly constant. It's beaming out a fair bit. And this is without putting any lenses on them yet. Beams over to this one, and I believe that this is probably due to the fact that this runs down slightly. So as the mana travels, it loses a percentage. As it hits this mana spreader over here, it then fires down to this mana spreader over here. And this mana spreader is aimed directly at the mana pool, which is now incredibly full. Incredibly full. And this one's still working off half a mana bloom field, a day bloom field, is staying virtually just on the edge of empty. So a full one keeps the mana spreader full and beams out a ton, which is a good thing, yeah. And I think if I had these a bit closer together, networked together, so there wasn't this little stringy end bit, if it was a bit closer over here, and then it beamed over, if I put another mana spreader facing this way, I think I could probably have a more or less constant flow instead of this broken line here as it flows out. That's a constant, that's a broken, and this one is a fairly slow. You see how it dissipates along the edge there? Just sort of like there's tons of it, and then it sort of peters down and gets lost at the end there. Whereas here, it actually looks like it's going boom, it's smashing into it, So I reckon I've got the setup slightly out here. So we start, I think, by getting ourselves another mana spreader in the middle here. Now, if I do putting a block on it like this, come on, like this, a block off the mana spreading, I know, but should be able to then get another block facing the right direction. Like this. There we go. Boom. Is it going to go? Yeah, there it is. So now, let's see. The flow seems less interrupted. There's still less coming out this side than there is going in that side. That mana spreader's staying about empty. That one's pretty much still full. Yep. Mana manipulation wise, I think optimally you have to keep it within 6 or 7 blocks. Maybe 10 blocks at the most. I'm sure that at some point in the future, some clever mathematics will get used to figure out the exact optimum range between them and figure out the losses and all that sort of stuff to get the best mana production going out of these mana spreaders. And the mana spreaders literally are just doing that. Now, this episode, we're going to be looking at the lenses. But before we go rushing into it, let me just show you a few things that have been changed. The original first 2 episodes, I was playing on the Beta 7 version. Since then, we've had Beta 8, Beta 9, and Beta 10 has arrived as well. So now I've got installed the Beta 10 version. So I've skipped a few versions. There is a changelog and everything with the link in the description. If you go to the forum link in the description to download the mod, you will also see there's a changelog there to what's been added in. And a few little things have that I've noticed. So let's start off with the basics. All look about the same. Mana manipulation, I think there's another lens been added. I'm not sure if Mana Void isn't a lens. So I believe Mana Void's been added, which in layman's terms is a grave for mana. Any mana shot at it with this block, into this block, will simply vanish into the void and never be seen again. A Mana Void. Living Rock and Obsidian. Easy enough crafting recipe. Mana Void. You just need to get the Obsidian, and the Living Rock's easy to sort out. Why you would want a Mana Void, I'm not 100% sure. But I guess that's something fairly important. Otherwise it wouldn't be included. Let's switch that rain off. Thank you. Don't let it rain anymore, please. Another thing. So that was mana manipulation. Functional flora. We've still got these guys, but I believe maybe there isn't a new one here. I thought there was only 3 last time. I may have missed that one. Jaded. Feeding a mana, it will grow new mystical flowers around it in any spots it can. It is a new one. It is a new one. Everyone likes flowers, right? The Jaded Amaranthus is made just for that purpose. Feeding it with mana from mana pools will have it quickly grow new mystical flowers around it in any spots it can. Wow. Thank you, Vazkii. That is something that I sort of requested in episode 1 and 2 to get more flowers. So to get this, a couple died for this, okay? A couple of flowers died for this. Purple mana petals, a mystic petal, and a green and a lime green petal. So have we got any of those? We've got some purples. We don't have any mystic purples yet, so let's get some of those. We're going to need purples. I've already forgotten the recipe. I am useless with this. Purple, purple. There's a purple, lime, and green. Okay, lime and green. Green and lime. Okay, so first off, we're going to need 2 purple mysticals, which we can quite quickly get in this very full mana pool. Where did that go? Went into the stack, didn't it? Yeah. In you go. Thank you. Right, and I reckon that this mana pool's got like hundreds of thousands of potential storage space, and that this may be kicking out 10, 15 a time, and it just doesn't seem to make a dent on it. But when you start using it, you don't see much being used. So I reckon a great big full mana pool like this is going to be pretty epic. So we should have everything we need for our experimenting today. Now, it was 2 of those, 1 of those, and 1 each of these, I believe. Let's get rid of this lot now. Oh, another thing I noticed while I was messing about, the graphics of these endo flames have changed as well. I believe Vazkii has changed them to lower their like particle effect. So before we saw quite a lot of red particles coming off them, off all 4 corners. Now it seems to be this little bit of a particle in the middle there, which I presume that saves a bit on computer frame rates and things like that. And I believe there's also something in the changelog about them having a certain amount of time that they'll burn stuff for and things like that. And I noticed that once you've got this sort of set up here, this is just 5 with a stack of wood. And it really quickly fills the mana spreader, and the mana spreader's then just got a constant thick beam of mana going towards the mana pool, filling up really quick. So that is quite a good little trick. And I've started coming up with ideas, doing all this moving them around and aiming them about and things like that. I've actually come up with a bit of a few ideas of how to practically use some of these things, which I intend on doing after I've finished doing the little exploration of the mod. And a seed. And a seed. Give me the seed. Oh yeah, so now we've got this jaded Armanthius. And if we put it down... Well, I guess we put it next to... Yeah, that'll do. I'll just break the grass. I presume we put it down right next to it. But let's see if we can put it down just a few blocks away from it. Just to see what happens. Let's have a quick read before we mess it up. Feeding it mana from mana pools will have it grow quickly. Grow new mystical flowers around it. Any spots it can. Okay, so let's try a corner then, because this isn't really next to a mana pool, whereas any of the 8 squares around the mana pool should be, in theory. Oh look, straight away a pink one, a red one, a blue one, a green one, blue, purple. Wow, that's quite a big area of effect. The only trouble is putting it here means that I would have to have my mana pools, these mana spreaders aiming down into the mana pool so they couldn't have an obstructed line of sight from the flowers. But that is an epic way of getting more petals. And you could just turn this off as well. So let's just say, for instance... Here's some of the things that I've been thinking about. Just like how would you practically use this mod? How would you practically use things from this mod to make a difference, to actually do things around your base? Well, if you wanted to shut off your mana production like this, then this flower here shows that you could then just have a big fertility of flowers being populated in an area around this flower. Yeah? Lots of flowers popping up all over the place. It's very rapid, very quick. And the mana pool itself isn't really going down anywhere, is it? It's hardly using any mana. Which means that you've got all of those petals you need to make everything. All you need to do is collect the right petals to start that off properly. So as soon as you've made that, which is 2 purple flowers, a green flower and a lime green flower. Once you've found those, you've then got infinite flowers at your disposal. If you just have the slightest of mana pools around you. I mean, that was pretty quick. That was filling out that space in pretty quick time. Looks like it's filling a square of available space. 4 by 4 in that direction, so a 9 by 9. Then in that case, looks like it's filling out a 9 by 9 with flowers, and it has filled those flowers out very quickly. So potentially that is perfect solution. I've just killed it, but never mind. Let's go into creative and just out of creative, should I say, and just pop all these out, put them away in my chest. But then there's a huge farming method now that, using the mana that you're creating, you can generate the flowers you need in order to make more mana. Make more mana. Make more things for this mod. Right, turn the mana spreaders back on again. Carry on filling that up. I noticed this as well, actually. Look. See that little brown spot there? I thought for a second, when I first saw it, that it was this beam here. Every time it hits it, it was burning a hole in the mana pool. But I'm guessing that it's just part of the texture. Alright then, so with all that cleared up, And nice and tidy away again, and a ton of mana in my mana pool still, growing nicely. It's just constantly filling up now once you've got a big setup like this. And I had a look in my inventory after, and check it out. I've got all 16 flower types from one growing of the jaded Amaranthus. Amaranthus? I think that sounds right. Amaranthus. The jaded Amaranthus. All 16 flower types. Some slightly more than others. If you notice here, the cyan is up to 10. Now, I was missing cyan in my first episode. It took me quite a while to get a cyan flower. And I think this has slightly made up for it. It's gone a bit the other direction now. Now I'm getting a ton of cyan. Whether or not that's something that the Modmaker Vazkii has put in extra, I wouldn't like to say. Let's put these in and put them away. So, fairly healthy stock can be got from that flower. Now, we are definitely going to go into lenses and runes today. So, the rune altar is the thing that we want to work on today. But just quickly to touch upon another couple of things. So we've got this Jaded Amaranthus generating flora. We've now got a hydrangea. It seems like a hydronia, something like that. Yes, names. I'll pronounce them one day. Hydrangeus. It's like hydrangea. Anyway. While you can easily get mana with Daybloom, sometimes you need to create more enemy without using any fuels. And this one uses water sources to create mana. Right. And that's fairly simple. Blue petals and a pink petal to make the the aqua. The aqua flower. So that's another way of making mana now. And also we've got some natural apparatus has turned up in here in the beta 10. We've got force relays, infusing mana, some interesting adverse effects. This block tears the fabric of space, relaying any piston force applied to it to a block it's bound to. So here's something, let me just skip over that bit for now, but to make a force relay from a piston. And I believe what it does with you get a piston that works and it just sort of makes something else move somewhere else. So it's almost like making a pistonless door because you have your piston working somewhere else. We'll play around with that in its own episode, no doubt. The mana pylon structure can pull energies from the earth and use them to power enchanting. And placed adjacent to an enchanting table, it was with a bookshelf, as if it was a bookshelf, will drastically increase the power it conveys. Just 2 of these are enough to reach a level 30 enchantment, which, well, it's quite expensive having a diamond in there. But not too bad, not too bad. So there's some good endgame stuff. Magical instruments, they're coming eventually. And we've also now got the decorative blocks. If you've got Forge Multipart, you can also do micro blocks. I haven't got Forge Multipart in here yet. But when I mess around with multi-blocks, it will. And Living Rock turns into Living Rock bricks. Cool. You can turn that with some seeds into mossy. You can turn that with some cobblestone into cracked. You can turn them all together to make a framed. We can turn the living wood into living wood planks. Mossy living wood planks. Framed living wood. And pattern framed living wood. So all of those are awesome to mess around with in the future. Unstable cubes. Highly powerful mana infused objects and lead to a certain creation of these strange cubes. They seem to emit some visual radiation in the form of colourful lightning, but it doesn't seem like it has any effect other than a visual appeal. Something to play around with again. So there's a few things there to play around with, but I haven't really seen what the end game is yet. The only end game I've seen are these flowers that protect your base, basically, by making mobs fight each other and keep creepers away from you and things like that. So there's no like real end game power that you're generating all this mana for. This enchanting force relay, it uses mana to give you enchanting power, but then bookcases would do the same. So there's got to be something else in the pipeline. There's got to be some more stuff in the pipeline. But anyway, on to the runic altar. We need to make this to make our runes and see what we can do with those. Runes are extremely important components of the complex magical devices or flora. In order to create these, one would require a runic altar. To utilize this runic altar, start by placing the components to the rune you want to create. Placing them. Proceed by linking to a mana spreader to the altar and right-click with a wand of forest. It should be apparent when the altar is received enough mana. When it happens, just drop a piece of living rock on top of it and use your wand to collect the rune. So we've got living rock, and I'm sure that was a mana pearl on its own in the previous one. Now it's a mana diamond or a mana pearl. That might be good, because now you can do it fairly early game. You can either hunt down and carefully kill an enderman, or you can just go and get a diamond and you can make this thing. So let's get that crafted up quickly now and see what we've got. So we've got some of these, so we'll have one of those. And we've got some of these, so we'll have some of those. And we'll just craft that up quickly in here. It was in the middle, and this was around it. Nearly. There we go. A runic altar. And the runic altar needs to be placed next to mana. And so I've got to have a mana spreader linking to the altar. So presumably I can't just put the altar down next to that. I'm going to have a mana spreader linking to it. So let's put this runic altar there. Wow, that looks cool, doesn't it? That's a nice, cool little effect on top of it. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so we'll put those away. And we'll get ourselves another spreader as well. Still in creative, so I'll just pick one up and pop that in just here. Hello, villager. Get out of the way, please. Thank you. Okay, and that should now be linking to the runic altar. It's full of mana and it's ready to go. I think until then we'll just pop a little block in between it, just to block off the mana. Just so we've got something in the way, so it can be a quick mana thing, so we can see what's going on. Now, the first one we should make, let's have a look. We're going to need a piece of living rock to throw on afterwards, so let's start with the first one. Could read this little bit. There's 16 runes. 4 are the basic elements, and 4 are the 4 seasons, and 7 are the deadly sins. And then there's a rune of mana. So let's just work our way through. The rune of water. Magna steel, bone meal, sugarcane, and a fishing rod. Okay. So fishing rod is tools. The mana steel, we've picked up mana steel plenty already. We know how to make that. So we have a mana steel. Sugarcane is no. Sugarcane is in materials. There. And the other one was bone meal. There we go. Check. Right, those 4 components. Now it said. Utilize the unique altar by placing the components to the rune you want to create. Placing. So how do we place into it? Can we access it? We can't right click to access it. Can we throw stuff onto it? Like so? Without picking it back up? How do we place these things? How are these going to be placed? It's not going on the altar. That's going over the altar. It's going on the altar. Placing them on the altar may be a little bit of something that I'm not sure about. Everything's gone again. See, can I just land it on this altar like this? Is that be placed? Be placed. And I pick them back up again. Okay, so let's have another look. Runic altar, yes. To utilize this runic altar, start by placing components to the runic altar you want to create. Proceed by linking mana spreader to the altar and right click with a wand of forest. It should be apparent when the altar's just drop a piece of living rock on it, blah 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 blah. So that is linked to that right now. And I can't shift click it, can't do anything to it. It's just receiving mana right now. Okay, so how do I place them on it? Around it. Place them around it. maybe. And then stick a bit of living rock on top of it. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't feel right. And then kaboom. Kabam, bam, 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 bam. No, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't look right. Let's try throwing stuff onto the top of it like that. If it sort of held it in place, like when you're in that would be a bit more useful. Or I right-clicked it on. Ah, you see, I'm not that dumb. There you go. I've figured it out by accident. You right-click it on. I was just thinking Thorncraft and the infusion altars and how you deal with those. And wow, that's a cool effect. Soon as you know how it works, it's amazing. Look at that. That's very nice. So you right-click the items onto it, and then what? I put that on it. Did I derp that one up then? And then click. Should be apparent. I think I've messed it up putting that extra one on now. Is it right? Is it ready? Should be apparent, I think it said, didn't it? But now I've got that on. How do I take it off? How do I recollect it? How do I get it back? How do I get it back? I may have messed that one up. Do I break the block and then put that block back? Let's take that. Let's break it. Everything falls down. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so we're going to start with right-clicking a piece of that on, that on, that on, that on, and then we throw this on. Don't right-click it. Okay. Now, it said right-clicking with a wand of the forest should be apparent when the altar has received enough mana. When that happens, just drop a piece of living rock on top of it and use a wand again to collect your rune. Should be apparent. Did I link it? Oh, maybe I had to click that and then click that. And oh, look at the effects. Ooh, we're making runes, baby. We're making runes. This is very cool. I really like the visual effects of everything. I'm still not sure what I'm going to get out of it. I'm still not sure what the end game scenario is for it all. Boom, 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 boom. Love it. It's very cool. You've got to be careful not to pick up that block at the end, though. Look at all that crackling effect. When does it show you it's done? Is it done yet? Okay. Maybe that crackling effect was it being done. Let's run another test. Make another one of those little ones there. Okay, maybe that isn't one of the best items to put with it. I've just put. I've now put 4 fishing rods. Sorry, Vazkii, but I think fishing rod may be something. Maybe put a fish there instead of a fishing rod, a raw fish or something, because that made it a little bit difficult with the whole right-clicking a fishing rod. The first time you get it, but then it starts getting to the point where you're just spamming fishing rods on it. And I had a fishing rod glitch there, didn't I? Where I was just throwing the fishing rod out. Okay, that's maybe not what was intended there. Right, okay, let's try this again. So we'll put one of those on. We'll put the fishing rod on first, shall we? Yeah. Put one of those on. Put one of those on, and then we give it a click, and it's we give it a click with the wand, and it starts getting all the mana in, and you can see the mana generating in there. On the crackles of power start, yeah, and then we toss one of those on. Toss one of those on. Come on, come on, come on. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Toss one of those on. There we go. Right, and then it's ready and pop. Yes. Okay. We get there eventually. We get there eventually. There's a few little tweaks that you could probably do with sorting out in that, just to make it a little bit dumbed down for people like me. But once you've got it, you've got these runes, and now these look at all the fishing rods I've got. These runes, now we know how to make the runes, and every single rune in this book has a similar crafting method. So the rune of water, crafting method such and such. The rune of earth, crafting method, yeah, that's cool. Rune of air, a carrot, I don't know why. Flying carpet, I get. Feather, yeah. Man of steel, but carrot? Carrot? I don't know why. Fire, blaze rods, yeah. Nether wart, okay. Gunpowder, cool. And the man of steel, of course, yeah. So those are the 4 basic elements. Easy enough to make. I say easy enough to make. I really think the fishing rod should probably be a raw fish or something, because it'll be easier to not have that right clickable fishing rod thing on it. Mushroom for earth, that makes sense. Mushroom for earth, or yeah, well, anything. Mushroom's pretty cool though, because you don't use mushrooms for anything else, like the seeds and things like that. It might be that the brown mushroom is very, very particular, and there's red mushrooms and brown mushrooms. If you could use either, then that would be good. Carrot for air, though. I don't get it. I don't get why carrot for air. Flying carpet of feather, I get. Carrot for air, I don't get. Fire, I get it all. Nether wart, pretty good for fire. It's not... You wouldn't put a lava bucket on there, would you? And then we go on to the more advanced seasonal ones, right? So, spring. Oak saplings, yeah. Wheat, yeah. Water and fire. Water and fire runes to make the spring rune. Okay, good, good. For summer, we've got sand for the hot desert. Slime balls, not sure why. Melons, earth and air. Okay, so we've got a nice variety in that one. It doesn't use a lot of mana either, that's pretty good. Autumn, we've got fire, air, the oak leaves, because the leaves fall down in autumn, and a spider eye. Spider eye. I can't think of anything constructive that would be better instead of a spider eye, but there you go. Rune of winter, snow, of course, yeah. Wool, because it's white, yeah. A cake, Christmas cake, that would be cool. That's nice, I like that. Air, water, yeah, that's cool. And then we've got the rune of mana, which is a mana pearl and a load of mana steel. Okay, that's cool. And then we've got lust, which is, of course, a diamond, summer and air. Okay, yeah. The summer of love is in the air. Love is in the air. Summer of love. There's things going on in that. Rune of gluttony, fire for cooking food. Winter. Do you eat more at Christmas? Maybe. And a mana diamond because you've got to pay for all your food. Something like that, yeah. Rune of greed. Mana diamond because of your greed, yeah. Spring and water. Spring and water. Not sure why spring and water, but yeah, okay. That's the recipe. And then we've got the rune of sloth, air, autumn, and diamond again. Lots of mana diamonds in this section for these runes of sins. Earth, winter, and diamond for wrath. Envy, we've got diamond, winter, and water. So it's combinations of these seasonal runes. So you've got to be able to make the seasonal runes before you can make the 7 deadly sins. And you've got to make the basic elements before you can make the seasons. So it makes sense in the progression, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And then we've got pride, fire, summer, and a diamond. Okay. So with all of those in place, now we know how to use the runic altar. We can then start making the lenses using the runes. But not this episode. This episode, we are done with the runic altar. I'm sorry we didn't get straight into lenses, but what I want to do before we get onto lenses is set up some safe place and start generating some mana pools, because I have a feeling that if I start playing around with lenses that will start destroying blocks and messing around in this village, I may end up destroying things a bit too much. So I may set myself up with some sort of thing over on this section here, firing off that direction, so we can test out all the lenses in the very next episode of Botania. So thank you very much for watching. Soon will be the next episode. Thank you very much. Goodbye.